Alright, so I've said this before, but now I think I've actually found the most underrated GTA game.
Hey, bro!
So let's take a trip back to when Rockstar actually put out new games, and go back to Vice City one more time before GTA 6. And I can't believe this game isn't talked about more because it features a fan favorite character from Vice City's brother, Victor Vance.
Vic Vance reporting for duty, sir!
Yeah, he's also in Vice City for like 5 seconds. You know the drill, I'm going off the wanted stars attained stat and trying to keep it as low as possible. No police. I didn't see that. No cheats. No way am I actually gonna succeed, but let's try. Vic started the game as a soldier in the army. Alright Vic, serve. No, like serve your country, where he tried to serve his absolute best by stashing drugs in the barracks, killing gang members, and bringing a prostitute to the Sergeant Martinez. And somehow all of that got me kicked out, so I was now an army of one. But this guy Martinez would be very important for most of the game. Martinez had introduced me to Phil Cassidy, who let me crash at his place after. He was also usually drunk on missions, and for the first one we had to kill some gang members in a drive-by, but the police ignored this. Phil was still drunk, and next up I had to save his liquor from a fire, and I had to use a forklift for this, which I'm not sure why devs thought this would be fun, because this mission was so busted. For this playthrough, I used a PS2 emulator, which let me play the original PS2 port at 60 FPS, but some missions, like this one, broke when played at too high of a frame rate. I don't know exactly why, but it's something to do with the timer using frames to count, so I had to manually change this to 30 FPS, and finally, I could beat the mission. I went back to Phil's place to find I was still doing work for Martinez, and now we had to steal a truck with guns, which was actually pretty chill. But then Phil introduced me to his brother-in-law Marty and his wife. Oh yeah, Marty is an awful person by the way, so naturally I worked for him. I learned some hand-to-hand combat, which I kind of barely used because guns. I smashed up a store, and intimidating people didn't get me wanted here. The next mission was a problem though, as I found Luis doing aerobics. I don't know why I wrote that. Aerobics are allowed in this challenge. I had to steal cars, and stealing the first two was fine, but then I got to this TV van where the guys chased me before I even stole it. Like, damn, way to assume. I mean, I was gonna steal it, but still. But as soon as I got in that car, I had 2 wanted stars that were scripted. So the challenge was now more dead than Vic 10 seconds into Vice City. But at least in this game, picking up bribes lowered the wanted stars attained stat. It didn't completely remove the wanted stars, so I had to add 1 to my stats every time, but this was better than 2. Marty had more work for me in the form of blowing up some gang vans that were interfering with his business.
You can't kill me! I'm indestructible!
Famous last words. The game also had a feature called Empire Building, where you could take over businesses, so for the next mission, Marty had me clear out a brothel so he could take it over. Oh wow, that's good. And I had to trash the place, aka hitting this bed once. And why did it sound like a Lego character breaking? But after we took over the brothel, Marty's girls were in trouble, so I had to pick them up. And these girls absolutely did not need saving. I mean, they took out like a dozen guys without trying. Back to Martinez, who tried to set up me and Phil, so we threw some Molotovs at his guys and got out. And Phil was lighting them up. Also not important, but I was weirdly impressed by the sprunk sign being animated, and we made it out of the mission alive. I decided to visit Luis, and we went out.
Good luck, Vic. You'll need it.
I don't think so. Alright, maybe that was dramatic. I won this bike race though, and Luis flirting with me right outside her husband's house is crazy work. And now Luis was at her sister's place, but needed my help to pick up stuff from Marty's place, so I did that and got jumped by his guys, but Luis was ready to handle them.
I never knew I could have such a good time.
And the good time in question is her beating the hell out of like a dozen guys with bats. Marty also tried taking Luis to his brothel, so I killed him. And with Marty dead, someone needed to take his place, and it was not these hired muscle, because they were useless. But I killed a bunch of Marty's guys and took over his business. And pretty soon, someone was going to be up in my business, and that someone was none other than Lance Vance.
Hey, bro!
Yeah, it's a good thing he had a glow up. After picking him up from the airport, gang members chased us, so I had to shoot them until we got ambushed by a large group, which I had to kill and keep Lance alive. Killing more than one of them at a time made me wanted, but if I didn't kill them, Lance died real quick. So there was one obvious solution to stop them from killing Lance. To kill him myself. Okay, not really. but if I trapped him under this car away from any shooters, and then got them to blow up their own cars, I could kill them without getting wanted. The brothel I helped Marty take over before was on fire, so at first, everyone died because this timer was way too fast until I lowered the frame rate to 30 FPS. Also, like, why did Luis say this?
Don't worry, I know where we can get a fire truck.
We just stole a fire truck from some random accident on the side of the road, and the accident in question was not Lance. But like, how did she know that was there? We are terrible people. Next, Luis said welfare was coming for her baby, so she had the bright idea of sending guys to kill them. I mean, Luis, look at the baby. You might want to let welfare take this one. So it was my job to kill the guys trying to kill welfare, but then I still had to intimidate the welfare guy a little bit. I met Umberto, who called me a stripper and had me handle a package for him. Yeah, haha, very funny. Oh, so that is the package. Man, this Saints Row ass mission. I had to race to it, but couldn't seem to be the first to pick it up, which I'm not sure if that's even possible. Once someone else dropped the package, my wanted level automatically became 2, even if I didn't kill them. Maybe if there was some way to get the package first, I could avoid these, but I'm pretty sure it's not possible, and thus, I had to add 1 star to my count.
Oh, I'm from Ohio.
Ohio canon in the GTA universe makes a lot of sense. Umberto wanted me to stop some gang members from causing havoc by shooting 1,000 rounds per minute. Why are drive-bys so overpowered in this game? As long as I didn't shoot though, the police didn't bother me. And now Umberto was upset that his father was gonna get killed by assassins, so I had to step in and save him. But at least his priorities were in order.
I can't be late opening my cafe.
I found out the man had heart issues, so I couldn't speed.
My heart! Please!
But running over people was chill. And I fitted the car with a bomb to keep him extra calm on the way to drop him off.
My heart!
Is emptier than the seating at your cafe. The next Umberto mission had me protecting his guys while stealing drugs from a gang's warehouse, but the police weren't an issue. I went to see Lance, who convinced me he wasn't doing a deal for drugs, but just had to pick up a car, and you're never gonna guess what happened. We had to pick up drugs, and someone was not happy about it. But first we got interrupted while Lance was at the payphone talking to this guy Forbes, and as soon as I left, we got 2 wanted stars in a forced cutscene. So initially I tried to pick up a bribe and accepted that I had to take 1 wanted star that was unavoidable. However, after leaving the bar, we had to enter the impound to steal Forbes' car, and as soon as I was seen, I got 2 more wanted stars. I had a strategy of sneaking around the back of the impound and jumping over this fence to stay hidden, but it didn't matter. The 2 stars appeared as soon as I was in the car, and the only way out of the impound was to drive up this ramp and complete the mission. But the problem was that once I entered the car, if I left the impound to grab a bribe, I would fail the mission due to being too far from the car. The other option was to get the 2 stars from being seen in the impound, then leave before entering the car and grab a bribe. But this was just like Lance. It didn't do anything. The wanted level was hard stuck at 2 even if I grabbed a bribe. This was incredibly frustrating, and initially I accepted that this 2-star wanted level was unavoidable, making this mission give me a total of 3 stars. Now, I actually didn't realize this until I was editing the video, but I realized 2 very obvious tricks for this mission. The first, I never had to lose the 2-star wanted level I automatically obtained at the bar. If I kept this wanted level, I wouldn't gain 2 more stars in the impound, so that would already take my total from 3 stars to just 2. However, all my earlier assumptions about the impound section were true, and to beat the mission, I had to drive off this ramp with the car. However, I didn't beat the mission when I hit this checkpoint on the ramp. The mission actually ended when the car landed outside the impound with me in it. So if I jumped out of the car as I went over the fence, I could then push this car all the way to this bribe, get back in the car, and the mission would complete. This meant that with the bribe, I actually only had to obtain 1 wanted star for this whole mission. So when all was said and done, my total was now only at 3. So side note, this game has an empire building aspect where you can take over businesses, and in the original Vice City, you had to own a certain number of businesses to beat the game. So I ended up attacking and taking over some of them here, which I later found out were needed to complete later missions. I went over to Forbes' apartment to see Lance, and I got roped into helping steal drugs.
Yes. You will not be handling any drugs.
Oh, that's great. I hate committing crime.
All I need you to do is keep the cops busy.
No. Give me the drugs. This whole mission was basically just baiting cops into following me with 3 wanted stars and then losing them at the end. There wasn't much I could do since the mission was mandatory, so this was 1 more star to the counter for a total of 4. To make matters worse, after the last mission, I found out that Forbes was a cop. but chasing him down didn't make me wanted, so Lance and I just ended up holding him hostage for a while to get more information, which was a terrible idea because the first tip he gave us resulted in Lance being kidnapped and taken to this ship where I had to shoot my way in and out, but cops avoided me. In our second tip from Forbes, we went to a gay white supremacist bar. Yeah, some of this game just didn't age well. We had to fight our way out of that and then kill Forbes for setting us up. And speaking of setups, Lance and Vic found their moms set up with a strange man, which we kind of just ignored because Lance said this guy at the airport had info on a shipment, so we had to go get that. But right before we got to the airport, the guy had sold the files he had on the shipment, so we had to kill the people that bought the file. This mission actually took me so long because I was extremely stubborn and I set myself up with minimal health and a very damaged car. Killing too many guys here got me wanted, and there was basically nowhere to take cover with how open the whole area was. And I could still be shot while hiding behind this plane. No wanted level was truly forced here, but man, this was one of the more frustrating missions for me. Like most other missions in the game, Lance talked Vic into stealing some more drugs, and this time it was from Martinez. I went with Lance and some hired guns who did absolutely nothing. Like, literally nothing. They were entirely useless. Lance was worse than useless though, because he just ran out, attracted fire, and died. So I had to pin him under a car while I slowly took these guys out. We stole the drugs, drove across the bridge, and got to the worst part of this mission where police chased us with a 4-star wanted level. But the most painful part of this was that I had to follow Lance for this mission, and if I took a different route, I quickly failed for being too far away. There was only one bribe I was able to grab, as no other bribes were even remotely close enough for me to pick up without failing the mission. So I got the 4-star wanted level down to 3, but based on the path I had to take, there was nothing I could pick up to get it lower. So I was now at 7 wanted stars total, but this frustrated me because if I could get more bribes, it should only be 5. Lance showed up with a new suit, and I found out that the drugs we just stole were actually from the Mendez brothers, and not Martinez. Still, we went to sell the drugs and dropped into one of the most fun missions in the game, Brawn of the Dead. Vic was cast as a stuntman, and for this just needed to kill some zombies in a mall. Unfortunately, after this, Vic and Lance found out their mom stole the rest of their drugs, so they were in a pretty bad spot. On top of that, the Mendez brothers were attacking all my businesses, so we had to defend those. We later met with the Mendez brothers to talk, and ended up framing the whole thing on Martinez, but after trying to get pictures of Martinez with cops to set him up, the game automatically gave me 4 more wanted stars. This one I could get down to just 1 for a total of 8 stars, but there was no way to avoid it. The Mendez brothers next had me kill a bunch of bikers that owed them money, and this was a bit annoying as shooting these guys on bikes made me wanted, so I had to run over some of them too. Next, the Mendez brothers had me kill some drug runners, and the first guy was fine, but the second... oh boy. This was one of the hardest parts of the game for me. Basically, these girls continuously spawned in and all shot absurdly fast at me. I could use the pool as cover, but even with that, it took me multiple tries just to beat this part. Wanted level wasn't even an issue at first. This part was just hard. This is what happens if you say you don't like Anora, by the way. Of course, after surviving the onslaught of bikini-clad women shooting at me, I now had to kill the dealer, but he had a ton of health, and shooting at him on this empty beach resulted in me being wanted. So I had to beat the previous section again and try multiple strategies. I ended up knocking this guy off his bike so he couldn't drive away, getting in a car, and running him over until he died. And even after 2 exploding cars, I still had to drive over this guy to kill him. And the fun continued when Lance found out our place was bugged.
Keep your voice down. No.
So we had to destroy some police antennas and deal with that. I had to buy an RPG, and unfortunately, every single antenna I destroyed gave me 1 additional wanted star. There wasn't much I could do about this except let my wanted level raise up to 5 before collecting any bribes. So 1 more star here brought my total to 9. After dealing directly with the cops, the Mendez cocaine got impounded by them, and I was randomly selected to steal it back. Strangely, when I went back to the same impound I stole Forbes' car from, I didn't get wanted. But then, I had to steal a crate right from the police, which was fine. But then, I had to pick up Mendez's car before bikers killed him, which also had no police. But this was super annoying, like, do you want me to pick you up or not? Damn. Next I met Rennie, who was an actor that just wanted to buy some cocaine off us.
Mommy wants some snort and she wants it now. You must be the cocaine man.
Sure. But for this mission, Rennie actually just had me be a stuntman, and I had to drive this car around the island. I absolutely did not land this jump, by the way, but the power of movies, I guess. The next mission had me escorting this boat while my allies shot, but I had to go ridiculously slow. This took so long, and my controller disconnected, which made me die, so I had to redo it. And side note, but something I hate about this game is that missions always seem to start at the top of the map and take me all the way to the bottom of the map by the end, meaning I had to travel the entire length of the map just to get to the next mission. And sometimes traffic wouldn't spawn, so there would be no cars. Except for this random taxi pileup I found under a bridge, and I don't even want to know what was going on here. And for the next mission, Kill Phil, I was really taken aback, because I had to protect this guy Phil from killers. Now, who was the guy, you ask?
Phil Collins.
Like, real life Phil Collins, name and likeness. What? I didn't know that was even a thing in these games. Whoa, okay. In the meantime, Rennie had more stunt work for me to do, which was a nice change from the missions that actually risked getting wanted. I met up with this guy Gonzalez and had to hit someone who pissed him off with golf balls. Did that golf ball have a bomb in it? The next time I met Gonzalez, he had me selling drugs, which resulted in me getting knocked out and drugged, so I had to steal the drugs back while high. The hard part here was that I had to get kills indirectly or else I got wanted, and putting a timer on this mission was genuinely so evil. I made it back with the van, and after 2 missions, my friendship with Gonzalez was over. I made my way to the stadium where Phil Collins was set to perform, but first I had to clear out this venue of hitmen before the sound check. Okay, why are this many people trying to assassinate Phil Collins? Like, this is insane. They even had bombs rigged in the basement. Like, it was serious. Must be something in the air. The timing was a little tight on this, but I made it through, and being inside meant that shooting didn't really make me wanted here. Next I went to Diaz's mansion, and now it was time for me and Lance to steal some drugs from Gonzalez. We had to follow his guy, and I realized I hadn't been recording my screen for the past hour. So I had to re-record it. Fun. But yeah, the next mission was mostly following this guy.
Don't lose them, Vic!
Oops. We stole a boat and brought it back to Diaz. In the next mission, we were giving the DEA some drugs, but once we got to the drop-off, we had snipers shooting at us from all over. And the main problem here was that this mission had a timer. Now, I had to change the game to 30 FPS, or it literally became unbeatable due to the timer moving too fast, but even with that, the mission was still problematic. There were 8 snipers I had to shoot, and all but 1 were on rooftops. The problem was that if I left this parking lot area to kill the snipers, I failed the mission. I was able to spread out my shots, but similar to the mission Crazy 69 in Liberty City Stories, I needed to wait about 17 seconds between kills. Otherwise, I would get wanted. With how much time I had, this meant I was able to kill all but 1 enemy in the allotted time without getting wanted. Shooting the final guy gave me a single wanted star between killing him and the cutscene that played immediately after. I had nowhere near enough time to end with 17 seconds, and since 7 of 8 guys were on rooftops, I couldn't indirectly kill them with cars. Or so I thought. My first strategy was to land a helicopter on this roof or in the parking lot before the section started, that way the shooters could blow it up, but it always despawned once I started this part. And getting a helicopter from outside here always failed the mission because I was too far away. But then I realized the key was this one guy that wasn't on a rooftop. As I said before, I failed the mission if I got too far away from my guys, but I was able to go outside of the safe zone for a few seconds, meaning I could drive a car close enough to this one guy, have it catch fire, and explode, killing him indirectly. This took me many tries due to the timing of it and having to be outside the safe zone for just long enough without failing. I also had seconds left to get this final kill before failing the mission, and I got this done with literally 1 second to spare, but I finally had no wanted stars here. The next Diaz mission involved me escorting one of Gonzalez's trucks to the airport and taking out some attackers from a helicopter. Luckily, shooting here was fine and it was pretty straightforward. Back to Lance, and I flew him in a helicopter to take out these bikers who he claimed stole our drugs. But after a while, they shot down our helicopter and somehow I survived a 100-foot drop onto a single cardboard box. But now I had to rescue Lance by shooting my way through these bikers, and this took forever, because it seemed like when I shot, I just got wanted, even after waiting 17 seconds. At one point, the bikers were blowing up barrels, and I got wanted for it. I didn't even shoot there! Luckily, all I had to Vic, stop. Eyes here. All I had to do... Are you serious? Are you serious right now? All I had to do was kill all the bikers. And Lance said they sold all our coke before we got there, which was a complete lie, because Lance was doing more lines than you'd find at Disney World.
All right, baby. This is the Lance Dance Dance. You got to, all right, pop it and lock it, yeah.
Lance, what the f was that? Luis was also with Lance, which was sus as hell.
What the hell is going on?
Well,
Things?
So you fucked my brother?
Yes.
And Lance got so upset, he started randomly dropping coke around the city. Yeah, this did not make any sense to me, but the cops ignored it. Even though Luis and Vic had a falling out, he still folded when he heard Martinez say that he was going to kidnap her. I easily rescued Luis and took her to the hospital, which was right next to where they kidnapped her. I mean, yeah, okay. Meanwhile, the Mendez brothers told me and Lance to get out of town, but we were not gonna give up that easy. Yeah, they beat our asses, but somehow they messed up our execution. After surviving the Mendez brothers, Lance knew they were going to attack Vic's businesses, so he gathered the Avengers, aka Phil and Umberto, to help us defend. But mostly I was impressed Lance was ready for once.
hello, Mr. M4, motherfucker.
We killed a bunch of the Mendez guys without issues. Without too many issues. And I then found out Martinez was coming for Luis in the hospital, so I went to pick her up. This was a setup, so I then had to rescue Lance for the millionth time from a burning building and chase down Martinez's guys who stole a bunch of money from us. I also found out Lance borrowed money from Diaz, so I had to do work for him. And how did I manage to flip this car? The work in question was just controlling this robot to find a safe with the Mendez brothers' bonds, then light it on fire. My good friend Rennie was in trouble with one of the Mendez brothers and needed me to rescue them and drive to the hospital to get surgery. Rennie didn't really need my help, but okay. Rennie's surgeon speed ran that because immediately she was out and asked me to drive her to the airport. I then went to Phil's concert where I had to protect him from people trying to drop the lighting rigs on him, but can we also talk about how insane this is that there's a full-on concert with Phil Collins' likeness and music here? Close enough. Welcome back, Travis Scott Fortnite concert.
I get those goosebumps every time.
I went to Lance's place and found out Luis got kidnapped again. Can she do like anything else in this game? Her job is literally stay at home mom and she can't even do that. This baby will probably be in GTA 6 as a more messed up person than Trevor. And I had to follow and protect Lance, which was super annoying for multiple reasons. One being the mission didn't immediately give me a bike, but I had to find one somewhat nearby right away. There were also multiple cars shooting at Lance and his dumbass intentionally stayed right behind these cars shooting at him. If I blew up the cars shooting, I got wanted, so I had to somehow stop them without blowing them up. This took a lot of restarts and luck, but eventually Lance made it back to the Mendez's mansion in one piece and without any additional stars. At the mansion, I basically just ran inside and had to fight Armando Mendez in what was a super anticlimactic boss fight because I literally just shot him and won in 5 seconds. Man, this San Andreas clip stays relevant.
Enough. We settled this here. Welcome to America.
But no complaints. Luis kinda just died, but Lance had a whole other game, so I knew he was fine. And now, Diaz called me to his crib to get revenge on the Mendez brothers. Mendez brother. This involved stealing an attack helicopter from the army with Phil's help. Not Phil Collins, the other Phil. The army base was tough to get into because everyone had assault rifles, and at one point, they dropped me into the abyss. But I could kind of sneak through and run past most people, so stealing the helicopter didn't really give me much trouble here. So, it was now on to the final mission, taking down the Mendez brothers and Martinez. And luckily, I had an attack helicopter, so they were screwed. But so was I, because I had to shoot missiles from this helicopter, and doing so immediately made me wanted. There wasn't really a ton I could do about this, since I had to kill enemies in this building, and it seemed like without helicopter missiles, there really wasn't any other way to do it. At the least, I could collect a bribe on the ground, so my wanted level at worst was just 1, which brought my total up to 10 stars. Or so I thought. I spent about an hour trying to shoot at enemies from these buildings across the street, but they just seemed to spawn in infinitely. I kinda gave up and went back to the attack helicopter, but then I realized something incredibly obvious. So if you've used like any controller in your life, you'll realize that there are these buttons on top which can be used in games. So the whole time I had only been using the button to launch missiles without realizing the bumper allowed me to use a machine gun. Unlike with the missiles, I could actually get kills here without being wanted, and I did need to kill the final enemy inside the helicopter in order to get a cutscene to play to complete the mission. Going inside this building, I had to shoot a bunch of guys, shoot down this other helicopter, and then fight Mendez and Martinez, which was, again, super anticlimactic. Like, that's it. Boss fights in this game were kinda weak. But hey, I finally beat the game. Lance tried to sell Vic on doing a drug deal, but he refused.
The town, man, we lay low and then sell it!
No, I am not interested.
Good job, Vic. I'm sure he got out of the drug game and lived a long and happy life in retirement on the beach and didn't randomly develop an accent in the next year of his life, right? Right? Wait, right? So when all was said and done, the total for this game was just 9 wanted stars, which is actually pretty low for this series. Overall, I'm glad you guys told me to play this game because it was a lot of fun to go back to Vice City, until GTA 6. And be sure to subscribe to Epic Cakes Gaming because I will have more GTA challenges, including a GTA 5 challenge next, and another Last of Us video before Season 2 comes out. Anyway, thanks for watching, I'll see you guys in the next one.